During the 40th millennium, the legendary first founding chapter, the Ultramarines, was led by chapter master Marneus Calgar. Much like his genetic father, Robute Guilliman, Calgar was both a peerless warrior and a masterful statesman. By this era, however, the realm of Ultramar was no longer the vast empire it once was. Following the Horus heresy, the Primarch himself had decreed that a 1,000-man chapter could not effectively govern such a massive territory, leading many worlds to be returned to the administration of mortal governors. Despite the diminished borders of the 500 worlds, Calgar remained the finest leader the Ultramarines had seen in centuries. In the archives of the Fortress of Hera on Macragge, 28 volumes are dedicated to his personal deeds. Calgar's wisdom and courage guided the Ultramarines and the people of Ultramar through their darkest hour, the catastrophic war against Hive Fleet Behemoth on their homeworld of Macragge. As the Tyranid threat emerged from the eastern fringe of the galaxy, they advanced toward the heart of the Imperium at an unprecedented speed, leaving only barren, extinguished worlds in their wake. Their primary target in the Segmentum Ultima was the fortress world of Macragge. To prepare for the swarm, the Ultramarines further fortified their home. Above the planet, a powerful coalition fleet was assembled, consisting of the chapter's battle barges and strike cruisers, the Ultramar Navy, and requisitioned armed merchant vessels. Calgar used his immense influence to summon every available ship from the surrounding sectors, while several Star-class orbital defense platforms were deployed to provide stationary fire support. On the surface, massive defensive arrays were established at the North and South poles. These two polar fortresses, bristling with giant laser batteries, were the linchpins of Calgar's plan. Should the fleet fail, the defenders would retreat to these bastions to hold out until reinforcements arrived, or they were wiped out. Consequently, the defense of these facilities was entrusted to the chapter's elite First Company veterans and the disciplined mortal soldiers of the Ultramar Auxilia. A few weeks after the initial defensive deployments, the tentacles of Hive Fleet Behemoth reached the system.
The scale of the Tyranid fleet far exceeded the Space Marines' wildest estimates. The dozens of Imperial warships could not even provide fire coverage for the sheer volume of enemy vessels. Thousands of mycetic spores were launched into Macragge's atmosphere. While the ground batteries intercepted many, the majority landed successfully, instantly swarming the surface with Tyranid organisms. Despite having intelligence on this new Xenos threat, the Ultramarines were stunned by the swarm's size and rapid evolution. Calgar split his ground forces into 3 divisions. The first 2, consisting of First Company veterans in Terminator armor and the Auxilia, held the polar fortresses to keep the orbital lasers firing. Calgar personally led a mixed task force from the 2nd, 5th, and 10th Companies to engage the Tyranids in open battle. The vanguard of the swarm consisted of billions of termagants, hormagaunts, and gargoyles, agile and cunning basic infantry designed to establish landing zones and overwhelm defenders through sheer numbers. They were directed by Tyranid warriors, which served as synapse nodes to relay the hive mind's will. These nightmare creatures were protected by thick chitinous shells and reacted with the speed of a striking whip. Beyond the infantry, the swarm deployed heavy and Titan-scale units, biovores that served as living artillery, Ravener units that tunneled through the earth to bypass front lines, and the massive, indestructible Hierophant biotitans. Though the Ultramarines fought valiantly and targeted synapse creatures to disrupt the swarm, the Tyranids were seemingly endless. For every node killed, another rose to take its place. Even the superhuman Astartes began to buckle under the exhaustion of fighting a foe that outnumbered their ammunition. Calgar ordered a fighting retreat toward the North Pole defensive zone, hoping to use the rugged terrain to slow the advance while waiting for the sector's relief fleet. However, the hive mind had recognized Calgar's strategic importance. To eliminate the leader paralyzing its advance, it deployed a unique and powerful synapse creature, the Swarmlord. At a location known as Cold Steel Ridge, the Swarmlord unleashed its masterstroke. While waves of gaunts launched a mindless frontal assault, massive tunneling organisms breached the earth beneath the Imperial lines. The resulting pincer attack slaughtered the mortal Auxilia and left the remaining Space Marines isolated. The Swarmlord's diversion succeeded perfectly, cutting Calgar and his personal honor guard off from the main body of the army. Surrounded by a sea of enemies, the honor guard, the finest champions of the chapter, stood their ground. They fought with the axes of Ultramar under the ancient banner of Macragge, erupted with a ferocious killing intent to protect their lord. Calgar personally engaged the Swarmlord and its guards, but despite his skill, the Swarmlord impaled the chapter master with its bone sabers. As Calgar fell and the Tyranids moved in to feast, a Thunderhawk gunship appeared in the sky, clearing a landing zone with its heavy cannons. Captain Aloysius, the commander of the Honor Guard, jumped into the fray with 2 other warriors. With righteous fury, Aloysius held off the Swarmlord and its retinue, using his power sword to suppress the beasts. This distraction allowed the surviving Honor Guard to drag the heavily wounded Calgar onto the Thunderhawk. While the last few dozen warriors from the ridge escaped onto the ship, Captain Aloysius was eventually overwhelmed and torn apart by the Swarmlord, sacrificing his life for his commander. The ridge was lost, and the North Pole Fortress was now the only thing standing between the Tyranids and total victory. Calgar was evacuated to the remaining fleet in orbit for emergency stabilization. Though the orbital defenses were nearly paralyzed and the joint fleet was decimated, the war was not over. The Ultramarines refused to abandon the world of their Primarch. The final stand for Macragge was only just beginning.